Great.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Jan with The Spark, Igniting Your Passion to Live Your Life Purpose. And I am having conversations with people that are living their life purpose. Today I have with me Jill Collins. Jill is a life and wealth strategist. And she and I actually met each other on the app called Clubhouse. So we have only heard each other's voices and seen pictures of one another until today. So it's awesome to be meeting her, I'll say, screen to screen.
Yeah.
So, Jill, tell us a little bit about, there's people that have a story of how they got into what they're doing currently. And I would love for you to share with everybody how you got into being a life and wealth strategist.
Yeah, so Life and Wealth Strategist. Thank you, Jan, for having me, by the way. And it is true. Clubhouse is something that's so special because you make fast friends there, and with all the connection and the talking, it's a real conversation. And so I value it so much. As a super connector, that's my gift, is just meeting people and seeing. I think we share things in those rooms that we wouldn't even share with people that we've known for years. It's a real safe space, and I'm so grateful to have found women like you, Jan, and others that you just kind of gravitate towards people that you resonate with. And so I really appreciate this opportunity to share with your listeners today. And I hope it speaks to someone. That's really my hope and my intention for being here, is that, for me, Life and Wealth Strategy is just a fancy way of saying I'm a coach, and I just work in helping women, support them in getting their lives back on track after losing a partner or having a significant change in their life. It's going through that grief process, and I kind of come in, I wouldn't say after the grief process, because grief it comes up all the time, and we hit those triggers and those pain pockets that show up sometimes years later after a loss, and it just happens. But it's when we have that moment of clarity where we say, you know what, I just have to make something different. I have to do it, make a change. I want to move on. I want to do something new with my life, and I'm ready. And that's kind of when I come in. My story goes back to, there are many stories, but the one that really is relevant to what I'm doing today is working with divorced and widowed women who have experienced loss and how to reinvent themselves and come up with an even better life than perhaps even had before. Is that I lost my husband very suddenly almost 5 years ago. And it was such a difficult experience, as you might imagine. We all have had, any of us who've experienced that know that. But what I observed is just some things that I could do differently, and I realized that it was an opportunity to work with other women so they wouldn't have to experience a lot of the mistakes and a lot of the things that I went through, to make it a little bit easier. And so, I went through this phase of grieving, and everyone grieves differently. But for me, it was this, like, getting out there and being so busy I couldn't see straight, and just partying, drinking, smoking, looking for validation in many ways, and just being super busy with friends and socializing. And it came to a point probably a year or so into that I just said, this doesn't serve me anymore. I have to do something different. So I started seeking out. I had a life coach, and the first one I had was great. I've known her for years. She was the only one I knew was actually a life coach. And so I called her and I started working with her, but she didn't quite get what it was like from my experience. And so I sought out others, and then I realized there just wasn't a lot around that. A lot of people out there who really could relate. So going back, I guess I got into that because I realized there were women who were struggling with things like finances. And for me, that's such a passion of mine, because my husband and I did work on our financial things together. But I know a lot of women don't. They say that someone else is better. I'm not good with money. I'm not good with numbers. My husband handles that. And my biggest fear is always that, what if I wouldn't have known about this? What would I have done? And so I really teach women to get that confidence back, that when you're in that darkest moment, is to ask the right questions. Don't just throw it over to someone, because there's a statistic out there that says that divorced and widowed women can lose up to half their wealth in the aftermath. It happens for a variety of reasons. but it's really tough. So I've been divorced and widowed. I was divorced at a very young age after being with someone for a total of 9 years, but I was very young when I met him, and then now widowed. So kind of have a unique perspective.
Right.
Yeah. So I can go into a little bit about what was going up into that point where my husband was a good bit older than me, and he was retired halfway through our marriage. And so we moved to Argentina, and we were living in Buenos Aires, and we spent every day together and doing things together, traveling. And I left my career in the height of it in my early 40s to do this, or actually late 30s, honestly, early 40s. And then we were just enjoying our lives. And at one point he said, I think we should go back to Florida. And we were kind of splitting our time between our two places. And at one point he said, I just want to make sure that you're taken care of. And I think we have too much real estate. I think we should go back to Florida and just live there. And then we can do some more traveling from there. And it really hit me hard because I was enjoying that life and really thought that was our place we were going to be for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And so when we were back there, back in September of 2016, we got into an argument about something. And I remember just afterwards, after we made up and talked about it, I just said, look, sweetie, if we're going to be here full time, I'm going to need something to do. I need a purpose again. I need to jump back into things. And I know you don't want me to work and you want to have me to have the freedom to travel together and do things. I said, but I'm going to need a purpose. And I don't know what it is, but maybe it's jumping back in the workforce again and getting back into the community like I was. I said, don't answer me right now. Just think about it and let me know what you think, how you see this going. And he said, okay. And then 2 days later on Saturday morning, he went for his morning run. And I was driving to beach yoga. I had this beautiful place, this studio, and I was driving over to the beach that day to meet everyone and do yoga there. And I passed him on the bridge, and I honked the horn. He waved back. And then I returned home an hour later, and he wasn't there. And he had collapsed and died instantly on the path. And so I thought about that shortly thereafter, that question that I asked him.
Wow.
And I thought, he never answered me. And I can look at it two ways. I can say, this is going to sound morbid maybe to your audience, and I'm sorry, but it's almost like okay. I felt like, thank you. I felt like he was saying to me, I'm passing the baton to you. Now it's your time to do what you need to do. I've retired. I've done my thing. And I know you have time, and you have to shine now, and it's time for you to serve and help other people. And I can't go on that journey with you, and it's time for you.
Wow.
And so, so I could have, and I could have sat back and said, I'm just going to kick back and live modestly, and I would have been okay. But I instead said, well, I didn't immediately, but I knew I had to do something more. And so that's kind of where all this all came about was what am I good at? What can I do to serve? And so, I made lemonade out of lemons, and it's not perfect. I don't have great days. There are days that I feel very insecure, like, what am I doing? Why is it, and I put myself in really big situations sometimes that I'm like, I don't deserve to be here yet. I'm not ready, but I am. So that's just kind of the story of how I got to where I am today.
Wow. When you were sharing that, it was almost as if his death was the answer. I mean, like you said, it may sound weird to some people, but that's the kind of conversations I like to have, and ones that aren't so comfortable for some people, because I think it shakes things up and makes us really look at things. So that's very powerful. So so his passing almost was that gift of you can step into your life's purpose now.
Yeah, it is, and it was something that I know I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if he were still here. Yeah. I wouldn't. I know it. Yeah, and we'd be sitting there traveling, having a good time. I had to go through that pain and suffering in order to want to do it and have that pull. And I was living a life that was lovely. It was comfortable. I was in my comfort zone. It was safe. It was relaxed. I didn't have any stress. I didn't have to do anything really more than just be and be there for him as a wife and enjoy my life. And there were some days that honestly I did say to myself, this is so perfect. There's got to be more life in this. I've got to be doing something more. Am I supposed to be doing something here but those kind of went away. But I know I wouldn't be doing this.
Wow.
I hate to say that, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a lot of people, it's that deepest, darkest place that sometimes gets them to step up to that level that they're supposed to be at, or that they're meant to be, that without that deep, dark struggle, they wouldn't be there. You know, I've had lots of conversations like that. So, yeah. So in the moment when you're going through it and you were doing your drinking and smoking and all of that, it wasn't clear, obviously.
No, but it was just self-medicating, just surviving.
Right. So thank goodness that you came out of that and you are where you are today. So,
yeah.
Wow. Well, so many questions. Who or what then inspires you? And I can imagine the answer, but I will let you answer it.
What inspires me is, and probably, as I say, my intention on Clubhouse. I mean, I have people that inspire me, like Tony Robbins and things like that. That's really where I got into that community, and that really built me up as finding a community that supports me and I support them. I found my tribe there. And then I found a tribe as well, and many friends and people on Clubhouse, which has been really lovely. But that has been one thing. But what really lights me up is when I'm in Clubhouse or when I'm working with someone or I meet someone that is in that space of, there's a huge light, as we say, those sleeping giants. There's women, as an example, that are there that have a message, and they have something that they've experienced, like I have, and like I'm sure you have, and a lot of your listeners have had, and they're just afraid to share it, or they don't think it's valuable, and they don't think they have anything to offer. And they see everyone else, and they're looking at Instagram, they're looking at Facebook, they're watching their friends, and they're saying, boy, I wish I could do that. I could do that. And then they tell themselves, no, I can't. And I want to help those women that are saying I can't, to turn that around to say I can, and I have to, I must, because I want them to not be pushed, but to be pulled into that space of just, I need to do this, and it just gets them to jump out of bed in the morning because they're making an impact. And it can be for monetization. You can monetize that. It can be just to give back time, but it's of so much value sharing that message. Because I really, truly believe that every single person on this planet has a message to share that someone needs to hear. And when every day that goes by that we don't share our message, someone is suffering. And I totally believe that. And I know days that I haven't done it. And I think I shared in a room, I don't know if you were there a couple weeks ago, when I said I've been playing small and I haven't been playing full out and giving everything. And so I started a mastermind group of women that I was always offering for free, and I just started it back again. And we've been doing it now a couple of weeks, and it's just been so wonderful to see women come out of their shell a little bit, even those that are already have done so much in their lives, and just supporting one another. And that just lights me up. And to see the women who say, I don't have anything to offer. I don't have anything. And those are the ones that usually have the most to offer. And they just don't know it yet. They just need to discover their gifts and realize their full potential, and how easy it is to share once you get started, and how rewarding it is when people learn something and grow because you spoke.
That's awesome. Okay, so the question that I have for you, which I don't think was one that would have come up in a preparation, because, as conversations happen, so many of us that are those that we just get lit up by supporting other people, forget to support ourselves. So where are you in that journey of making sure you're taking care of Jill And if you could share some of the things that you do to support you.
That's a really great question, Jan. And I have ebbed and flowed in that area. That is probably of the entire spoke of all of our things that we have, the different parts of things, financial and relationships and self-care that I deal with. And a dear friend of ours who's in our Clubhouse room is always texting me saying, are you drinking your water? I have it right here.
Hey.
And I'm going to take a sip.
Hey, mine too. Cheers.
So I have my water. Cheers. And
let's do a cheers.
Let's do a cheers. Okay, cheers.
Let's do a cheers.
The glass looks so big when you get to the screen. Yes, so I'm drinking my water, yoga to me is so good. I haven't been consistent with it, but I really love yoga for that. It's a great exercise for me. I've been getting into meditation more, which I really love. My boyfriend gave me this really cool, it's kind of geeky looking, but it's okay. It's called Muse, and it's a thing that you put on your forehead around your head. It looks like an 80s, Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical. But you wear it, and it actually activates through an app, and it reads your brainwaves. And so it can tell you how much you're distracted and what you're doing, and then you listen to an audio, and it will actually start, like if you're listening to, you can do different sounds, and like if I'm doing the beach or something and listening to the beach and the waves, when I'm starting to drift off or get distracted, it will start to storm, and I'll hear it, and I know, I'm getting distracted. I need to get back to my breath. And so it's been super helpful. So, yeah, it's called Muse, and it's so neat. And so he got that for me for my birthday, and I've been using that, and I really like it. So it's been helping me get consistent. And so things like sleep are really good for me, important. Although at my age, at 50, I just turned 50, I'm starting to notice some things with my sleep patterns. I wake up a lot, I have thoughts, and then I'm wide awake. And so I wake up several times a night lately, so I'm working on that. But I think it's just sleep and water. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I stopped that almost 2 years ago, and which has been a game changer for me, I have to say. Another big thing that really was needed to happen. And so I've done that. And so just trying to eat right. I've really watched my diet. After my husband passed away, I lost like 10 pounds in about a week and a half. It was unbelievable. And so over this time, I've lost 20% of my body weight, and I've maintained it since then. And I'm a healthy weight, but it's just, I eat now when I'm hungry. I don't eat just to eat. And then I choose things that I enjoy eating that are healthy. And I don't really snack per se. I'll eat nuts or something at the end of the day. But I just choose to eat good foods. So those are things I think I do for self-care.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be a big challenge for many, many women. So.
Oh, it still is for me. Always improving. I won't say I get an A rating for that, but room for improvement.
What does Tony say? Can I? Constant and never-ending improvement.
Improvement. That's right. That's it.
Oh, Lordy.
Yes.
I've been following Tony Robbins since I could walk almost. I mean, when he was doing the commercials, I was like,
yes.
I used to tell myself, I want to be the next Tony Robbins, only female and way shorter. But I've come to realize, no, I just need to be the best me, and that's good enough. So. Yes.
I was in Delano Johnson's room this morning. I hope I get this right. Someone had a quote. It was beautiful. It said, they said, you have to be you, because take the position as you because all the other jobs are taken, or something like that.
Sure.
All the other positions are taken. Yeah, so it's really good. But it was so much more clever than that.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's just being you. And he's 6'7". That's pretty tall.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Maybe someday I shall meet him in person. I have not yet, so.
I have a picture next week. I posted it before, but there's one where we're together, and he came up. I said, let's do a picture. And then I thought he was just going to come next to me. And instead, he came up behind me, and he wrapped his arms around me. So he's like this big person, like a bear hug around me. And it'll be on my post on Instagram on Tuesday. But it was from November last year. And it's hilarious. It's a really good photo. But yeah, it just shows the size difference. I'm 5'2" and he's like 6'7", so it's like this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's probably more than twice. It's probably twice my weight or more. No, he's way more than twice my weight. So yeah, it's hilarious.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm 5'2" also. So yeah.
Are you?
To get a perspective.
Well, welcome to the 5'2" club.
Hey,
yeah.
It's a good club to be in, except when you're at
That's right. Every time people meet me after seeing me on video, they're always going like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you'd be so much taller."
See, I've had
sorry.
people say that to me too. That's hilarious. So yeah, and we're both wearing blue. We had no idea when we got on this video that we were both going to be wearing blue. So the synchronicities. I mean, there's just fun stuff that's happening. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So, gosh, so many things to talk about. What if you were to give your younger self a little pep talk? What would you have? What would you say to her?
Have more confidence and don't believe people who tell you you're not good enough. My father always used to say, and I love my parents, but he always used to say to me, stop talking so much. And things like, the world doesn't revolve around you, stop being a big shot. Or don't act like a big shot. And so I was, by nature, just this outgoing, wanting to communicate and connect with people. It's just, like I said, a connector. And it was just more than he wanted to hear. And so I still get that governor, like this little thing in my head that sometimes says, be quiet now, you're talking too much. And so it's this feeling that really, even though I've dealt with a lot of that, it's still, those little seeds still are there sometimes. Sure. So I would say to my self at that age is, don't listen to that. You just shine and make it happen, and don't worry what people think about you. Right.
That's a challenge to get to. You know, we can say, I don't want to care what other people think, but yet it's in us, it's ingrained in us because we're wired to be accepted because, just like a bunch of animals way back when, we needed to be part of the tribe for survival. You needed that group to go out with you. If you needed, and I think Tony probably even talks about this, where women go to the bathroom together because it's a survival thing, that when you're out in the woods, you don't go to the bathroom by yourself because you can get attacked. So that's right. Part of our cellular makeup. So we have to work hard to overcome that primitive brain that says, this is a survival thing, I have to be accepted.
That's correct, yeah. And I think as young girls when we're in school, we want to be accepted, we want to be part of the group, and so we model what other women or girls are doing, and then if we're not accepted, like I wasn't, I know this is funny, but I was telling the mastermind group, the lionesses yesterday that I was saying that I was probably the least popular kid in school growing up, and I was just too outgoing. I was just like blowing everybody out of the water, I guess, and so I made it I can look back now and see what I did, but I became really good at studying people and their reactions, their behaviors, their facial expressions, their mannerisms, and it just became something that intrigued me. It's like, what does it take to make someone popular? Like, what is this about? What are they doing that I'm not doing? Is it what they're wearing? Is it what they're saying? Is it how they're smiling? What they're, it's just, I've studied it. And I guess it was, and then this is a funny story. I don't know if it's of interest, but it was something my mother and I were talking about the other day when they were here. When I was in 6th grade, I noticed that there were all these popular kids, a little group, and then I noticed that I had friends that were the not unpopular ones, and so there were several sects of the unpopular kids, the different groups of unpopular kids, if you will. And so I said, everyone that's popular, they walk by in the lunchroom and they say, hey, Susie, hey, Christy, hey, Bobby, and they do this thing, and they all talk to each other and do that thing. And I thought, I'm going to start a group of unpopular kids. And so I got my organizational thing that I am. It's like even shows up today. And so I got a clipboard and I made a form with like carbon paper and I'm like name and phone number and the pod that you're in you know, there are 3 pods and which pod you're in.
No
and
way,
so I passed it around to these people. I did. And I passed it around to all these kids and I said, this is why I'm a geek and why probably nobody liked me and that's okay. But I'm like, do you want to be in the unpopular group? You know, and so I passed the clipboard around. And there were like 40 or something, I think, kids that signed up. And they were like maybe they weren't in this little clique of unpopular kids, but they were in another one. And so it kind of built this community of like a coalition, if you will. And I didn't know I was doing that at the time. But then everybody would copy, or they wrote, or maybe my mom even made a copy of the sheet at work or something and made photocopies. And then we handed it out, so we had a roster. And everybody had the list. And they all became friends. So now when we walked in the line, we'd go, hey Susie, hey Bobby. And we had the other group, but doing it just the way they did it, but we had our own clique.
I love that.
It was hilarious. And now I think, and the funny thing and what's really beautiful about that is to this day, there are friends, the people in that group are still friends. And they went through middle school and high school, and then they're still friends to this day. And so it's kind of funny. Yeah, that was me building coalitions and connecting, and then other people getting something out of it because they wanted to be included and be a part. People would even ask us, are you in that unpopular group? It's like, yeah, I am. Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of that. Oh, my gosh. I wish I had you in my school.
Probably needed a brand expert to come up with a better name for that. That's not my area, but
right.
The unpopular grouurt. But, hey.
It's like, hey, own it. Just own it.
Hilarious.
That is amazing. So I was very similar, and I was the kid that got chosen last for baseball and, you know, all that stuff.
Always.
I didn't even get into choir in 6th grade. I was the only girl that didn't get into choir. I mean, it was weird. I was in a very small town, though, so, I mean, there wasn't a lot of people in any of the groups, and you were either popular or unpopular. And that was hard stuff. And it was funny because people would move into town and then they'd be in the classroom, so I would befriend these people until they figured out I wasn't the popular kid.
Yes.
And then they'd be
like, I hated when that happened.
Did that happen?
I remember first week of high school, one of the JV football players thought I was cute, so he asked me out, and then all of a sudden he caught wind that I was not in the group, so he and didn't, you know, canceled it or something, and it was like, oh, she's not it. No, she's not. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. Oh, forget that.
You don't want to go out with her, and that nixed that in a second. But yeah, before they know, they think you're really nice, and then all of a sudden you get like the black ball. And it's like, you're out, you know. So yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Yeah, those are fun times, and you know, we can look back on that, and there's so many little fun lessons you get out of that.
Exactly. Just like what we talked about earlier, the tough things can be the best reward in the end, you know.
Yeah.
If we we could still continue to be, you know, poor me, blah, blah, blah. But when you choose to rise above that and see the good that came out of it instead, you know.
I totally agree, and I have a good segue there about that, is that going back to what we were talking about with losing a partner or being divorced or widowed or having a significant change where identity is affected. You know, it's I was a wife, a mother, I was in the country club, or I was the wife of, or whatever it may be. When we have a significant change in identity or we lose a partner, going through the grieving process, people, you know, Tony's 6 human needs. Yeah. Tony says that of those 6 human needs, when we have 2 or 3 that are our top human needs and something satisfying those human needs, they can become an addiction. And so with grief is essential. Have to do it and continue that. Yes, but you stay in it long enough, and this is something that I see happen a lot, is that you stay in it long enough because you can, the whole victim thing comes in, because it's so comforting. With being a widow, you have an identity, so you have significance. You have certainty because you know where you stand, and you have love and connection because people are supporting you and they're there for you.
Right.
And so there's this thing that we tend to get stuck in there sometimes, and we don't want to leave it because it's meeting our needs. And so at some point, it's that breaking free of that and going, okay, you know, this is really comfortable here, but I've got to do something different. And otherwise, you know, I've been in widows groups with, you hear someone post something and they'll say, you know, I just, they're making a comment about, you know, holding the pillow that he used to sleep on, and you're thinking he just died and it was 10 years ago. And you're like, this is a person who needs that continual, like, coddling and validation and comfort, and they've lived up to that identity.
Right.
And I've seen it in sex traffic victims as well, and other people who have gone through this, survivors, where they use that as their identity. They identify themselves and they literally will introduce themselves as a sex trafficking survivor. And it's like, okay, great, I'm sorry that happened, and what can you do? You know, they can use that as for good. But when you start to identify and stick with that, it's really hard to do more in your life when we get stuck in that space. And so it's a challenge to how do you break free of that and meet your needs and find some new causes. It's going from that maybe significance to contribution. Right. And then love and connection is great. And then that certainty is really, it's also growth. And you can find those other human needs to really focus on and try to find the validation or the comfort in or something. It's that space. So it's hard, and that's the thing, is not getting stuck too long in that.
Right. And can that be part of then what he refers to as the crazy eight, where the grief is that one
the
part
crazy
of the
eight pattern,
whatever, anger, or you know, whatever that other.
You flip back and forth. Yes, they flip back and forth from anxiety, and then you lash out to back and forth, and it's just getting out of that crazy eight pattern. And I have a graphic of that I'm happy to share with you if you'd like to have that for later. But it's exactly what happens. It's another thing. It's just that it becomes a habit and a routine, and we don't even realize we're living in that space. It's just we feel so much discomfort, and we don't know where it's coming from. And it's really having to take a look inside and spend some time sort of just sitting with it and trying to figure out if that's really where, you know, you want to be. And then it's working with for me, what I've seen so much help in is having a community of people that are in your similar circumstances or that have been there to support and help you see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and see what's possible. I'm a big believer in that. You know, there's a thing called the 33% rule that I talk about a lot. Is you have three different levels of people in your world, and the middle 33% are those that are probably your family, your friends, your coworkers, people that you're with a lot, that kind of keep you at this level where you are mentally, you know, mindset wise. And then you have the lower 33% that are people that tend to be negative and can bring you down. They can also be people who you can help up and lift up. And then there's that top 33%, and those are the people that you want to aspire to be like, that can help up level you, that can that show you what's possible, that hold you accountable, that are doing things that you want to be doing. And that's the people that you want to try to surround yourself with. So you want to have that, you have that balance. You can't avoid it, but it's really just leveling up and really trying to find those 33%, that top 33%, to help get you through those times. Because if we stay in that middle all the time, we really aren't growing. And or if we're lucky and we do have family members and friends that are in that top 33%, that's fantastic. It's not necessarily that it's always family and friends and coworkers that are in that middle, but just those people that tend to keep you stagnant. So I really believe in that, finding that community, finding that tribe, finding those that will get you where you want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Clubhouse has really opened that door wide. Wide. Because you can connect with any human on the planet anywhere, potentially. And I know, with Clubhouse, I know that without Clubhouse, I know that I would have never met you. I can't imagine that we would have bumped into each other somewhere on the planet. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, in Florida. So it's possible, but the likelihood's pretty small.
Well, maybe on social media you may have seen a post or something, but even that is not the same connection. No. We can appreciate maybe something someone shares and go, wow, that's really neat. They seem like a neat person. But until you really get in that space of talking and sharing information or having a dialogue, there's nothing like it.
Right.
It's a really unique space.
It is.
It's a gift.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely a catapult. For sure.
For sure. Yeah. So it's a great thing to be in, and just to continually feed your mind with positive content. That's something I started doing a lot more of when I was trying to get myself back together. I was just digesting so much information and looking at things like Tony Robbins videos on YouTube and reading books that people would recommend, or other people as well. I was listening to a lot of different people. And just even Mel Robbins, I think, is amazing. She helped me with that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 5-second rule, and it was like, this is incredible. And I took a lot of her information from my program that I created, Surviving to Thriving. And one of the things that she does is that whole just like very simple daily practice of doing a journal. And I've been ebbed and flowed there as well. But one of the things that I do with women who are just trying to get back into things is every single task can seem so overwhelming at first. Like it's to do or pick up the kids from school, right? Take a shower. That's a big one. Take a shower. And so I created this little index card, a 3x5, not the big one, a little one, and it's a my daily contract card. And I just said, to myself, I'm going to create, just commit to one thing a day to do, just one. Not a big to-do list, because I'm a to-do list maker like crazy. I can make a to-do list like you wouldn't believe, but it's so overwhelming. And so I said, what's the one thing that I want to do? And it could be laundry. And at first, and so I'd write that down on the card, and then it has, like a space for what time I'm going to wake up in the morning and commit to that. And then it was, they're on here, there are like a couple of other little tips, like maybe it has a couple of times of the day I'm going to do a couple of things, like maybe it's picking up the kids for someone, or it could be, I'm having lunch with someone, or something that I know is set in my calendar that I need to do. And then at the end of the day, it also, there's one thing I'm grateful for. And then there's a place to sign at the bottom. And so I would do that every night before bed. And it's just so nice to wake up with that card and go, okay, here's my action plan. It's super simple. It's not this big, huge list with a million things on it that has all these things I've got to do. And I just look at that and I go, oh my God, no, it's too much.
Right.
Just that one thing. And I can get one thing done. So I started with that. And I think it's really important to have those little baby steps when we're getting started. So that got me through. And, gratitude, and then also really getting aligned on my calendar, because as I'm a busy bee and always wanting to do things, I get a new idea and I'd want to get in on that. And one of my second coach said to me, write down everything you're doing on a weekly basis. And so I had 12 or 14, no, maybe more projects I was thinking about. And she said, let's narrow it down. Circle the things that are essential. So you have exercise, you have Spanish classes, you have, time out with friends, and we actually made it in a color category, colorized it, can't think of the word, but, made it in with color. And, categorized it and then color-coded it.
Oh, okay.
Like exercise with one color and, something else with another color, whatever. And so I would have those categories. So then I'd look at my calendar and I would see, was there too much blue or was there too much red, which is my social time, and different things, and I wanted to create a balance. And so then we narrowed down also all the activities I was doing. I think I had 2 or 3 business ideas that I was wanting to do at the time, and she said, let's start with one. Which one's the most important to you?
Yeah,
and then we did that, and I put the blinders on and I focused on that, nothing else. And it just helped me get kind of aligned with how to kind of set my day, because when we lose a partner, I have this great metaphor that I think is interesting. Is this? I envision one day like a dining room table that's completely set with everything on it. There's food. It's all set nicely, and then someone comes along and just rips the tablecloth right out, and everything is all over the floor, and the table is completely cleared. It's nothing. There's nothing on it, and that's what happens when we lose someone, or a divorce, or losing a partner, maybe ending a relationship. And then we have an opportunity, kind of what I said about staying in it too long with the grief and becoming victim mentality, is if we wait around too long after grieving, that table, it's like a vacuum. It's empty, and it's an opportunity. And sometimes it's too soon to start doing anything about it, but at some point, we get to decide and start to create, what do I want back on that table? It doesn't have to look the same as it was before. In fact, it won't. Especially like COVID. Let's use COVID. Same thing. We've lost our jobs. We've changed our careers. We're in this creative phase right now. We have an empty table.
Big time.
What do we want to put on that table? Yeah, and what do we want to put on it? And if we wait long enough and don't decide or don't start being mindful of it and conscious in what we're going to do, people will start putting things on it for us, and things will start to appear. And then before we know it, all these things are on the table, and we look at it and go, this is my life now, and I didn't even have anything to say about it. And all of a sudden, I'm responsible for these things, and I didn't even do it. I didn't create it. So there's this opportunity to create. It's a loss, and then at the same time, it's an opportunity. So we get to choose.
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of
we do get to choose.
Duality.
The
black and white. I mean, you hate to use good and bad because, I mean, I try to look at everything is good if we choose to look at it good, you know, but it's a challenge. So, yeah. Wow. This has been so fun getting to know you, and I do hope we meet in person someday. As a matter of fact, I know we will.
We will. We will. Lots of things coming up, and it's going to be exciting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I've already set the date. I don't know if you've been in any of the rooms when I've said, you know, retreat in Sedona. And I've actually got a call scheduled later today to talk about planning at the Sedona Retreat Center. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's going to happen. I organized a couple of events in Minnesota that didn't turn out as well as I planned, and so I lost my energy to do it. I'm like, girl, you've done this before, so you can do it again. And you've learned from it, so do it again. One thing before we end, because I know we wanted to kind of keep it an hour or close to an hour, is you were in a room a while back when I mentioned that, you know, because you're helping women who've already gone through a loss, but for somebody like me that I haven't experienced that loss, but I see, I'm one of those women, I'm not good with finances, I let my husband take care of it, I just tool along and do my little butterfly thing. And I know, I mean, right now, if my husband died, I'd probably have to call my daughter and say, you need to help me make sense of all this stuff because she's really good with finances and all that. And he'll say, oh, well, you know, all the passwords and stuff are in my phone. I'm like, okay, but
How do you get into his phone?
So lost. I do have a code. Yeah, I've got the code for the phone, yeah. But it's that idea that I still don't know, like, you know, I don't know what credit cards he's all got. I don't know, you know, I know places that he's got money invested with, you know, this, we have this company called Wealth Enhancement Group. So I know that if I call them and say, I need help, but I don't want to feel that helpless. So I've got to get on it and be proactive in saying, hey,
yes,
I need all these accounts written down. I need the passwords. I need the logins. I need to know what bills you're paying, when they're due, and all that, you know. It's like, well, just look on the bank
100%.
statement. I'm like, oh, my God. No, because
and it's so important to do that. I mean, imagine how it feels overwhelming right now. You have to imagine if God forbid he passes, what you're going to feel like then, and then having to deal with that on top of feeling like you just lost your partner. I mean, it's the worst time ever to have to have a crash course in finance and money management. It's not the time you want to do that. And then everyone else around you is going through that same process as well. And that likely and hopefully you'll have family that'll say, oh, I'll take care of it for you, Mom, or you know, someone else in your family. And are they the best choice for that? And then it's a lot of people are very lucky and that works out fine. But then they'll go to a financial advisor who maybe can't be trusted or isn't as good, maybe has exorbitant fees. or you get locked out of an account. You don't have access. It's just, there are things that are, so many things that are left on the table that if there's a little roadmap and a little plan ahead of time, that's one thing. The other thing that's really key and helpful is to be relevant, to be part of the process. You know, to understand, like, how is he investing? How is he managing the money? How are bills paid? Does he pay them in full every month? Does he make payments? What can we afford? If something happens, am I supposed to pay this in payments? Am I supposed to pay it in full? What bills did he want to pay in what order? What was his plan for paying off the house? Was he making extra payments on the house? Just these conversations that I know they're so hard to have. I know that. And I know that it's even harder after. And families break up over it. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe another time I'll share that about my family, but what happened. But it was, it's very hard. And even as prepared as we were, there were still things that didn't show up as expected, and it ended up causing a big rift. And it's really sad. So I would say that's another reason I'm really passionate about this, is to share information, especially second marriages, with all the children involved, with all family members, anyone. You know, don't have a conversation with one person and say, you're going to get this, and not tell the other person. Or, you know, even that heirloom that maybe you promised to one child, and you say, oh, this is grandma's, so this is yours. If the other child doesn't know that, right, and then all of a sudden they're standing around going, well, mom said I could have that. And like, I never heard that. And then imagine, over an heirloom, people break up over heirlooms. So tell everybody everything. It sounds like sometimes you even do it jokingly, like, oh yeah, mom, I want that when you're gone, and you just go, ha ha, yeah, you can have it. Like, seriously, those things sound so trivial, but those will cause rifts and complete devastation in families if they're not talked about to everyone. Write it down, express your wishes, do a video, and just say, here's what I want to see happen. I want you all to stay together. I want to make sure that you know mom is taken care of, and you'll get this at a certain time, or depending on how financially things are going at the time of my death, you know, let mom handle it, and she'll provide for you as needed, or you need something, but support her. You know, whatever that conversation is that he wishes, is to do that. It's just communication. Yeah.
My family included, we went through some crap. We got through it, thankfully, but it wasn't easy. And I'm so proud of my son-in-law when his dad died, and him and his siblings got together, and they just handled it, you know, and they're young. It's like, wow. So that doesn't happen often. And so,
no, doesn't.
So do you have a booklet or a little checklist or something like that as a resource?
I definitely have something like that for sure. And if your listeners want to go to my website, there's a free book. It's called 2.0 Reinventing Yourself.
Awesome.
And then I'm happy to, if anyone wants to DM me on Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email through the website, I'll put something together and I'll share some free resources. Absolutely. Happy to do that. And, as I said, I have this free mastermind group for women called the Lionesses that I started. And so we can get, if anybody wants to participate in that, we meet once a week on Zoom. And then we also are offering a lot more support with each other in the community. And we're teaching different things on different topics. So I'll be doing some things on finance and money management soon, as well as just other things. It's a great way to connect and meet other women who are up to some good things, and some who are struggling and who are on their way.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Nice. And your website?
It's JillCollins.com.
Simple and straight to it. JillCollins.com.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. This has been a blessing and an honor.
Thank you, Jan.
All right.
Likewise.
All right. I'll go ahead and end the recording, but you and I will stay on for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.